Hello everyone, this is Cookies, and this is going to be my second attempt at recording this. Sound did not record the first time, so let's go ahead and get back in there. Alright, so going through the battles again. Won't be quite as surprising this time, but alright, so we've got a Tianqi Golem here. Now, this is in the magic phase, so he's magic phasing on these birds. And this one should be, a pretty easy victory for the Golem. Alright, so it took about 25 rounds, but the Golem comes away out of this victorious. Alright, so kills, a fair amount of stuff. The Astral Shield might have actually helped save some of these troops because they get frozen, or stunned, I guess, and then they have time to think about what they're doing, which is trying to kill a Golem. The Fire Shield is where a lot of the killing power was. Alright. And then we've got a battle on Patala as Marignon is attacking Tianqi, trying to take out the PD for the province with a couple of Horde from Hells. Alright, goes pretty well for Marignon. In Ultima Tifia, we've got this White Tiger of the West. Is going to do Strength of Gaia again, so it should have 20% regen, which is pretty good. And this is also in the magic phase. So jumping on another Calum stack. You can see the crazy amount of regen the cat's getting. Fear Aura working a little bit against it this time, because ideally you'd want to kill more of the birds. Alright. So that was here. And then we've got Marignon again. With another Horde from Hell. Now there is a Thug back here. But unfortunately for this Thug, no Soul Vortex, just Mist Form. Probably use the Death Gem attacking. And, I imagine TNG's running low on gems and resources, so not very surprising there. Then in Oscents, we've got a little raiding party here. Mix of Sacreds and Barb Heavy Horse. One of them is killed. Three old men withstanding a heavy cavalry charge. It's interesting, I actually had different RNG for this. Alright, I guess like a different battle replay when I first recorded this yesterday. So kind of cool to get to see the real one. Loses a Master of the Way. And the other one, the Stormguard jump on the mages a little bit harder, and they kill, I think, this guy and the Spirit Master. Alright. So that was here. Yeah, and they end up killing a Harib Seraph. So let's actually really quick pull up the gear for everyone. Yeah, so the Harib Seraph just had a death gem. We did have an Ancestor Smith with some pretty heavy thug gear. In Doomna, got another batch of birds. Going after some PD. Alright, in Sarmiak, we've got Man attacking TNG. So this is one of TNG's little armies. It gets killed by Man. Or no, it's just PD. Never mind. The PD does manage to gem bait. So Man's going to have to reload those gems for Hal. Alright, and then in the normal phase, we've got another battle in Ultima Tifia. So now I guess I'll explain after. But here we've got a pretty strong Earth Mage, a Harib Elder. And we've got some Earthbound here going after the cat. And they're doing a lot of damage, but the cat is also regenning a lot. Does get petrified. Now the petrify was with this guy's last earth gem. Alright, Mage is killed, the Earthbound are running. Alright, So, what was that? That was here. So loses 29 Earthbound and a Harab Elder. Alright, and then in Ul Dalepa, and I'll explain what I believe Calum was doing here in just a second. But we've got the Marignon main army. Here, I think this guy's anti-magic, maybe this guy's Doom if he wants to keep the shoes. He's probably got a fair amount of magic duel in here. And then a fair number of mages set up to do different army buffs. And then he's got the Virtue. Virtue has extra pearls for a reload. So it would take a couple of turns, because I believe we're playing with the Gem Burn mod. Gem burning to get the magic duels out of this army before Tianchi could bring his own communion. And potentially even his pretender. So this Marignon army, I think, is very tough right now for Tianchi to try and fight. Then in Ramesia, we got Tianchi attacking Calum. Just a little buff box again. And especially against Calum, the very first buff in the script is probably the most important. They do rout this guy, they almost kill him, but the horsemen actually end up winning. Let me see. I just want to see their gear really quick. Yeah, no gear on them. Alright, Atlantis attacking Agartha. Yeah, that's 1 PD. Then in the Hidden Realm, we've got Marignon. This is the remains of a horde from hell. Killing some bats. Then in Walnut Woods, we've got some more birds and some more Earthbound against another little buff ball. This is a pretty nice way to get a temporary nature gem, is the fairy in a bottle. Now, it is a little bit expensive, generally on its own, to get 2 temporary gems. But considering your alternative is a cornucopia, it's definitely cheaper than a cornucopia. With a forging discount and hammers and the Throne of the Artificer, you can probably make this for, I think, 2 and 2. Because the hammer and the national discount go first, which probably makes it 2 and 3. And then the Throne of the Artificer would knock down one of the 3s to 2s. So 4 gems for a temporary nature gem is pretty good. Then we got another guy with an air gem. And then back here, got a couple of death mages. So we got a Harab Elder who is twice spawned and a Harab Seraph. And so these Long Dead are providing the front line for the Earthbound. Now, this is where Soul Vortex can work against you a bit. It doesn't work on Long Dead, but it will work on his buddy in the same square. So Alright, the PD is routed. Now the main issue that these guys are running into now with the PD gone is just attack density, because this guy's often fatigued out. This guy is often fatigued out. The guy with the Soul Vortex is fine though. But they're definitely making more than one thing to kill around. Did they kill? No, I thought they killed one. Aren't they doing? Well, maybe. I feel like this is different, a different replay than what I saw yesterday too. Okay, this guy does get trapped. That's what I remembered. So, Kalim will get to kill one of these guys and take the province. A little bit of group regen. Alright. Let's see. So that... What's that? That was down here. So loses one Ancestor Smith, kills 6 Earthbound. Alright, then we've got Bonelands. Now, Bonelands was one of the Magic Phase attacks as well. And here we've got another Mixed Force from Kalim, complete with a Skelly Spammer and a big Earth Mage. And here we've got a Golem. So what Kalim was doing there was leaving out parties of birds as bait in the raiding game, hoping that TNG would Magic Phase on them, and then moving in normal phase kill squads that could kill a Golem. So a big Earth Mage and a Death Mage to provide chaff for the front line. Now it didn't work against the Tiger, because the Tiger is pretty killy. But against these Golems, all you need is the big Earth Mage doing Shatter. So let's go ahead and check this out. So pretty clever use of large appetizing raiding parties to draw out powerful enemy combatants and kill them. Really like this strategic and tactical thinking from Kalim. So here comes the first Shatter, 25. You get a Disintegrate and then another Shatter from this guy back here. So that's one Golem down. So 8 Stormguard plus whatever died in this battle. Then in Hamane, we got man attacking Atlantis here. And this seemed negotiated to me, because he could have attacked Atlantis' big stack on the fort with those Wardens and Kushi. And I thought that would have been, you know, maybe like a clever Wrathful Skies play. But then that army veered away. So I wonder if man threatened to attack Atlantis and Atlantis was like, what can I give you to make you go away? And maybe this province was it. You know, maybe man just wanted the stuff that he started out with. I didn't really check to see what his expansion was, but this is within his expansion area, so to speak. So, loses one warden. Then in Coast Haven, we've got a crew of barbarians killing PD. And then TNG moves into Coast Haven. We've got a pair of soul vortexing white mages, so everything they're going to pull in is off of this other thug here. So I don't... Yeah, I mean, he's thugged out like he wants that guy to do stuff, but they're definitely killing him a bit, and he's already dead. Soul Vortex is definitely worth it, though. This guy is staying up. And then they rout the barbarians. Horror Helmet does a pretty good job there. So that was here. Then in Scrub Point, we got a couple of the illusion guys. For anyone interested, there's the kit. Alright. Pretty efficient. Then in Levendalen, alright, we have one of TNG's armies. This guy, I thought he was a Rigor Mortis caster, but he's a Darkness caster. Then we got a little buff square of thugs. Again, this guy with the fairy bottle. And then we've got a moss body, and then, I don't know, maybe a body ethereal for these sacreds. And then we've got a smaller Calum raiding group. And I know where the birds land, so let's go ahead and take a look. It should be up here. Now, Darkness is nice versus Calum because they've got the Spirit Sight Sacreds and the White Mage Thugs. Calum can also do Skelly spam and has White Mages, but I think fewer of them. Alright. So that was Levendalen. Kills a Harib Seraph. We can go ahead and check really quick to see if it was twice spawned. And it was not. Did have a death gem. Alright, in Uffenred, we've got another golem moving in. And unfortunately for this golem, this guy's also a big earth mage. He doesn't have the air gems anymore to do Army of Mist. But I believe he does have the earth gems to do Marble Army. So here comes the Marble Army, 10 protection. And then I believe a Cold Malice. Yep. Now, while this guy's killing the birds, Draconians, in this case, HP Sync, this guy finishes his buff script, and then he's going to go on Advance and Cast. It's just going to take him a bit. you know, he's a hero. We want to make sure he has the full buff script, even if it costs us a few Draconians and Stormguard. It's in range. Shatter. And shatter. Okay. So that's our second golem killed by Calum this turn. So the cat is still up, but both golems going down loses TNG a significant amount of their power. So that's right here. Then in Felden Forest, we've got another sort of TNG army with a bunch of mages. This is a big communion ball, and then we've got warrior illusions. Yeah, the gifts from heaven can work against them against Calum because of all the flyers. But there against PD generally works okay. A little bit of friendly fire, but not too much. And then we've got an indie attack on Atlantis. So we've got an assassin going up against a snow captain, an ice guard bodyguard. So he pushes his bodyguard in there. Bodyguard dies, and then he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. Alteration rituals are still cheaper. And then we've got a troll army here. And this is on Calum's cap. So, you know, the Indies are still out to fuck Calum, apparently. Because he's had so many necromancer style events, I think 2 of them. And now he cleans that up and he gets hit by 40 trolls. So, which is just fucking brutal. So, there we see his capital is under siege. He's gonna have to figure out how to kill those trolls. And they're really poorly timed too. So with the 2 excellent golem slayings, and I don't see another golem in this scouting report. Well, I guess if he makes one, it'll probably be in Felden Forest because of the discount. But yeah, I don't see one. So Marignon's continuing to just pick away at the edges. We do have an assassination here. Disease Demon fails to kill the Ancestor Smith and also fails to disease him. And then we also see Marignon's own golem here. So while Man is going after Sermiak, Marignon's taking Patala, and Marignon is setting up for a push on Gold Mountains. Calum's, I think, been doing a majority of the fighting, whereas Marignon, I think, has been seizing a majority of the territory so far. Sorry about that. A little bit coughing a little bit this morning. All right. And so with Calum doing most of the fighting, that means they're taking most of the attrition. And they're going to take more attrition trying to get these trolls off their capital unless they get a fairly clever and lucky attack rear. But, I mean, yeah, that's pretty rough. It might be an opportunity to try and steal some of that stuff, but I'm not sure if he has great paths to try and pull that off. Yeah, so, and, you know, these timings are important because Calum needs to try and finish this war the same time as Marignan kind of finishes what Marignan wants to capture. Because I think somewhat clearly the next war is probably going to be Calum versus Marignan. And I think it's highly likely that we see a Marinese throne rush, but we'll see. So, I mean, he made sure to stake a claim on Gold Mountains, which would be yet another throne for Marignan. And also Tianchi has been focusing his defenses around Gold Mountains. He made that push on Koljuk earlier in the war. And he's been focusing his defenses on Felden Forest, where he's got the throne, and Tianchi, which is his capital. And all of this defending is, generally speaking, minus Gold Mountains, is in the area that Calum wanted. And so I think this has set Calum pretty far back, even with the pretty strong plays he made this turn, and even with the conjuration discount. So I'm a little bit concerned that his war and Atlantis sieging down all these forts he's finally cracked, Frosted Peaks, is going to set both of these two back to where they're going to finish their respective wars after Marignan, which gives Marignan a window to look at potentially throne rushing. So he doesn't have anything in the neighborhood to try and take Peckwoods. He's just got a scout sitting on it. He's just got a scout sitting on Gold Mountains. But he's got an army next to Gold Mountains. He's got troops next to the Weald. And then he's got the throne he got from Calum. He's got this throne. So he's at 1, 2. Let's say he tries and gets this. This would be 3. Unless, him and Calum have talked about it. And then potentially 4. And then he would need to pick up 2 more. So, you could look at these 2, certainly. Which is why I think he would fight Calum next. And potentially this one down here, because it's just a palisade inside of Atlantis. I don't think he'll pull the trigger just yet. My guess is he wants Blood 8. Or at least I would want Blood 8, so I could do 3 red seconds. Particularly for this fort. Or I guess this province. So if he takes up the monolith, maybe with a bunch of soul slays or magic duels, then you could go ahead and 3 red seconds this and kind of stake your claim on it. But then pretty rapidly as well, he'd have to potentially fly or magic phase enough stuff up to Peckwoods to crack it and take it without Calum responding. That only works if Calum's sieging down Tianchi forts, trying to finish this war. Calum's lost a lot of his power in the Pyrene region after the failed push onto Felden Forest in Tianchi, and has lost a fair amount of power in this region from the India events and from pushing onto Gold Mountains and having to defend Koljuk, and definitely took some attrition in this region. Now with the golems gone, he should be able to push a little bit more aggressively. But especially continue making use of Petrify. It not only works against the golems, but it works pretty well against thugs too. So just keep pushing into Tianchi. Still has to figure out the cat too. Because I believe this army can kill the cat. I think it's got the cat figured out with the magic duel spam, where I wouldn't want to run the cat into it. This man army? You know, you've got Gifts from Heaven again, but, you know, potentially the cat could kill this again. So I think Man's hoping that Tianqi's too busy to care about Sermiak. We'll see. I mean, it is a lot of population and income, but the cat has a lot of jobs to do. Got a number of forts under siege. So yeah, we'll see, but I'm thinking the next likely war is Calum and Atlantis versus Marignon. I'm not sure what Man will choose. This seemed like Atlantis buying off Man. Because otherwise, why would you march this army away? This is a very militarized border. And sending a bunch of your wardens or whatever to the east. And I'm not sure if there was like an army size item, because this was not the number of wardens I was seeing running around. Like, along with Kushi, but Kushi are stealthy. They could have been split off. But we don't know where they are right now. So, yeah, I don't know if this was just Atlantis buying off Man. And now Atlantis is planning to take Frosted Peaks and move armies in to retake this. I mean, he's got an army sitting in Range of Faith, which is a throne. So maybe he's a little bit concerned about a throne rush. But Range of Faith is really only near Tianqi, and Tianqi is definitely not in a position to throne rush anymore. So maybe it's just a nearby friendly fort for making a move on Bountiful Land after he takes Frosted Peaks. I'm not sure. For the most part, we've stopped seeing an active defense from Agartha. He still gets this gem income, so maybe he's just summoning more Sepulchrals. But it would have been kind of nice to see a little bit more, you know, knocking some of these, like, you know, 10 ice guard groups off of his forts. Unless he's got scouts around his forts, though, it'd be kind of hard to tell if Atlantis was going to move onto one of them to kind of like bait him sallying. But yeah, I have a feeling that he's just willing to sit in his forts now. But because that's what a fair number of players do when they kind of like semi give up. All right. And yeah, so I think a big question is, what is Man going to do? He could opt to pair up with the Throne Rusher and hope the other players stop the Throne Rush. And maybe he can gain some ground doing that. I'm not sure about that. It is a really tough position, I think, diplomatically, because pretty soon here, it's probably just going to be 4 players. You've got Marignon, Calum, Atlantis, and Man. He could team up with Marignon to try and get revenge on Calum, but if Marignon's going for the win, it only works if he's winning his war while everyone else is focused on Marignon, or like winning territory, where people buy him off. Otherwise, it might be more profitable for him to just attack Marignon and then hope Marignon defends against the other two more vigorously as part of a throne rush. It's definitely a tough position. Losing the Pyrene region in that Calum attack, and then I believe he had a bloody battle with Pyrene right before that. It's really set him back, and it's a really tough position to try and scale and climb out of. But yeah, I'd say Marignon's definitely in position 1, at least for now. And then, you know, maybe behind that, we've got Atlantis and Calum at least from what we've seen so far, I've liked the scripting and strategic movements from Calum a lot more. But so I do think, maybe Calum can pull ahead again, but that does remain to be seen. Atlantis has had a lot of very peaceful research. We just haven't seen him use it yet. And then Man's going to have some really tough choices. It's very easy to fuck up in this position, but I don't think you can be too worried about that. And you don't have to throw yourself on the stake of game state when you're the smallest player. I think it's perfectly reasonable to work with position 1 and expect positions 2 and 3 to work against position 1. So it may be like bribe you off, or maybe they have to kill you or something. If he wants to work with a coalition, he does stand to gain some ground, but then he's still a little bit of a buffer state in between Calum and Atlantis. And it feels more like a king-making position at that point. You could try to attack one and then hope you get bought off, and then try to attack the other, hope you get bought off, and then try to recover that way. But I think a lot of people they don't like giving up land. I mean, we'll see if they're willing to in a tournament in order to buy peace. And so they just kind of accuse you of king making, and they go and die. And then he'd probably end up in a very disadvantaged, like 1v1 with, say, a Calum or Atlantis. I think he would stand, at least from what we've seen so far, it might be a little bit easier against Atlantis. But we also haven't seen all the mid-game magic from Atlantis. And Atlantis is pretty good magic and pretty high-quality troops. So they might not have brought out a lot of magic because they haven't needed to show it. Although it has cost them a fair amount of time tempo. And Agartha's still got an army, although unless I forget if you get like half of the income of a besieged fort. I think you do. So maybe Agartha's avoiding desertion, but he might also be having some desertion issues. All right, and I think that's it for this one. We'll have to see, I'd call this second wars coming to an end because it's the second war for both Calum and Tianqi and Marignan. Or, well, for Calum, it's more of a third war, I think. Right? I guess Pyrene was the Pyrene region was the second war. So yeah, and then for Man, it's like third or fourth or whatever. So, and for Atlantis, it's his first war. But generally speaking, we're coming to the end of second wars. It's right around turn 45. It's probably a good timing for second wars to be coming to a close, especially since some of the wars started a little bit later. And now we'll have to see what people are thinking diplomatically and strategically in terms of setting up the next phase of wars. And this is also where personal relationships can play a pretty big part. Maybe, Calum didn't appreciate that bump from Marignan. So, that would probably encourage them to fight. He didn't like having to give up a throne of air for a partner that bumps him. Maybe Man didn't appreciate losing the Pyrene region right when he was about to win it. So he might work with Marignan. There can definitely be some kind of like personal stakes into how these decisions play out to end the game. But we'll have to see how the players manage them and what decisions they do end up making. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.